I asked the night manager for the spare key. I didn't ask for the spare key because I wanted to catch anyone. I asked because hallways turn men into playwrights, and I wanted to see how much of the script I was inventing. The Haviland is the kind of hotel that makes small cities believe in redemption. Brass doorknobs, a piano in the lobby that understands mercy, a smell like linens instead of money. We'd been there twice in better years, once for a fundraiser where my wife made the room forgive itself, and once because she asked how much geography is required to keep desire from calcifying. Geography helped for a season. Lately we'd been down to weather and logistics. Weather is faithful. Logistics is a smug god. At 12:22 a.m. Claire texted me the sentence people send when they're trying to file their night under office supplies. Loadout turned into a lock-in. Team might crash at the office. Don't wait up. She's not a liar. She's an architect. She arranges load-bearing truths. The man whose shadow walks past the part of my brain that keeps inventory is Theo. Operations lead, sleeves up, role of gaffer, the decent habit of standing one respectful step from married women as if consent were a floor plan. I put on the jacket I wore back when we were less competent and asked the night manager at the Haviland for the spare key to the good hallway. He looked at my face and handed me a brass tag that gave me jurisdiction over 3 carpets and an elevator that likes a witness. It was storming, the honest kind that makes lobbies seductive. I let myself onto the 12th floor and stood in the carpeted hush. The spare key opens the glass door between the elevator lobby and the guest wing, an architectural kindness or a security memo, depending on how your night is going. The elevator carried up a bellhop with a cart, a woman who smelled like victory, 3 men who smelled like regret, and then nothing for 4 chimes. On the 5th, it opened on my wife and Theo at the respectful distance from each other that has kept my domestic policy from devolving into international law. She saw me and did the thing she does that makes me love her more than I intend to. She did not act surprised. She adjusted the strap of her tote, pressed the lobby button, and waited for the doors to do what they always do, decide. "Theo," I said. "Grant," he said, palms visible, eyes steady. The infinitesimal nod of a man offering courtesy to a better man than he is sure he is. "Claire," I said. "Do you want to stand in a hallway?" she asked. "Or do you want to be interesting in an elevator?" Theo took exactly 1 step back and looked at the carpet like it had applied for sainthood. "I'll take the stairs," he said. "I have a spine and a coat." He left as if gravity were a lover he trusted to carry him without complaint. The doors slid, the elevator, and we decided to be actors. "Did you kiss him?" I asked, because the device has to be fed its line or it refuses to rise. "In an elevator," she said, because the universe likes a messy rhyme. 2 weeks ago, between floors and nouns. It was quick, stupid mint. He stepped back. He said my name like a lock. I wanted to hate him. Mostly I was relieved one of us still knew how to behave. I pressed the brass tag against the glass that separates the hallway from the part of night that belongs to people who followed through. It didn't open. I pressed it again. The elevator stopped between 9 and 10 like a prayer you can't say in front of witnesses. The doors stayed almost closed, then less almost, then decided to cooperate. We walked into the quiet that recognizes itself immediately. "Invite me when you're interesting," I said. "Not only when you're frightened, you'll be easier to love in other lighting." "I am inviting you," she said. "I'm tired of auditioning for ruin without a partner." I kissed her, not like justice, like jurisdiction. Her mouth answered way too quickly for a woman whose calendar had worked as hard as hers had. I put my hand at the back of her neck and felt the right now that keeps marriages from learning to lie politely. She pressed her body into mine and then remembered her clothes and our neighbors. We kept them and them. Heat doesn't require chargeable offenses. Do you still want to hit him? She said into my breath. I want to thank him for stepping back, I said, and I want to owe him nothing else. That's my favorite budget, she said. The good hallway has a window at the west end that makes the city look like it has a plan. We walked there because corridors insist on teaching momentum. She sat on the radiator like a girl who once asked me if geography helps, and I stood between her knees and learned that I still cannot count when the sound she makes finds the place in my chest where I keep my better answers. The storm dragged its jacket against the glass. The building leaned a little toward us and pretended not to. I almost went to his room, she said, because the new rules demanded days of the week. The key card was in my palm, and I hated my palm for being so good at keeping promises I didn't yet know the terms of. You didn't, I said. I didn't, she said. I told him to go home and tell his spine he'd earned it. Then I texted you the sentence I swore I would stop sending. You know what the worst part is? It wasn't romance. It was competence. He was steady and my neck paid attention, and I thought that meant I needed to do something big to survive being married to a man who is very good at mercy. I can be steady and interesting, I said. They are not mutually exclusive, despite my recent relationship to both. She smiled, small and frightening in mine. Then B, she said, start with my mouth. We didn't undress in the hallway of the Haviland because we aren't idiots. We kissed with the accuracy of people whose hands have learned how to apologize and then improved. I slid my palm down her side until the elastic told me to be a gentleman, and then stopped because rooms and laws and the lives we intend to keep. She put her hand under my jacket and made my spine remember I was a person before I was a calendar. I leaned my forehead against hers and laughed like a man who has avoided a terrible version of his own story. We took the elevator down to the lobby and gave the night manager back his brass tag. He looked at our faces and performed the sacrament of not making a big deal out of it. Breakfast, he said. We're pretending to be a hotel with a plan. At 7, I said, do you have a table that forgives sliding? Booth 3, he said, and there are men whose superpower is knowing which furniture is least offended by truth. Hire them. Give them raises. Never ask them to remember your name. We slept for 3 hours in a bed that did not owe us mercy, and got up and met Theo at 9 at the community center where gravity waits to be asked nicely. He lifted tables with the calm of a man who intends to continue being invited. I handed him a roll of gaffer I had paid for with guilt and cash. He said, thanks, the way good men say thanks when the story is not going to hurt anyone on purpose anymore. Claire moved through the room with a clipboard and a mouth that made volunteers proud to do exactly what was needed. When she passed me, she pressed 2 fingers to my wrist, daylight legal, and the morning changed its mind about us. We didn't tell anyone about the hallway. We taped the brass tag's number, written on a napkin, to the side of the fridge under the magnet shaped like a small boat we bought one summer we didn't ruin. Sometimes, when the house auditions for courtroom, we take a walk to the Haviland and stand in the lobby like 2 people who never learned how to be bored by mercy. Sometimes she texts come and means stand next to me while I bend a room into competence. Sometimes I text come and mean watch me be a body first and a plan after. Sometimes we sit by the west window where the storm is always practicing and remember that heat can be honest without being cinematic. We didn't stop admiring other people's competence. We did stop confusing it with permission. Heat is a temperature, not a verdict. We eat before we try to win. We sleep when the clock loses its manners. We put our hands on each other in daylight like the sun still issues licenses. And when the city asks if we have anything to add, We say only this: hallways are bad playwrights. Give them accurate scripts. Kiss in elevators with your spouse. And if you find yourself with a brass tag in your pocket at midnight, go hand it back before you start inventing a play that deserves a better audience than you.